Firstly, I'm so excited to have you both here. Thank you so much for coming. And Jasmine, I've been really interested in your story because it seems to me that you struggled at first to get into the music, and I was like fascinated when Coco was telling me about, like, you know, that you had this whole battle of wills with parents. So tell me a bit, what was that like? Like, how did you get into music? What inspired you?
So I've always really loved music. Growing up, it wasn't really like an industry that you could make money from or work in. Music
Things changed.
I mean, like, it wasn't like something that you go into for a long life plan. And so I always wrote, but I never actually really like wrote structured songs properly because, you know, I was just young, but I always used to just write.
Was that from a young age you were writing?
Yeah.
So you were always, you always had your kind of mind set on doing vocals and being a writer kind of thing.
Yeah. And then I was studying things that I didn't like, and
what were you having to study that you didn't like?
Oh, just the usual school stuff like maths, English.
So this was all secondary school years kind of thing?
I got kicked out of secondary school, but I'm talking like, you know, when it started to college times. So I was doing what I was supposed to do, and it just wasn't working out. I was getting in trouble, and then I got kicked out, and then I was just like, sod this, I need to do music because I know I've got this deep burning desire in me to just do music, and I enrolled myself at Southwark College in Bermondsey.
That's why you were rebelling against it though, because your body knew and you knew and your soul knew. Because how many musicians have you heard with this story? I was at school, I was called the school clown, I was always joking around and got kicked out, and it's almost like a requisite of musicians. We've got that fire in us and the natural ability to just be like, you can't bend your will to something else. Nothing more sad than a person who has not been able to follow their passion.
I did a lot of teaching back in the day as well, and I had a lot of those kind of kids.
Teaching?
Yeah, like when at secondary school. Sorry, they were at secondary school, and I was literally just training at the college and secondary school. And I used to get these kids that were just didn't really have any direction. And then one of the little lads, he I showed him how to mix and blah 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 blah, and he ended up just absolutely loving it, and got rid of, like, had a really bad upbringing. His brother was in prison, all that kind of stuff, and he completely transformed his life. Ended up going to university and getting a degree.
Wow.
Incredible.
It does transform.
Yeah.
So how did you get your first singing gig?
And
I think people will want to know, did you always know you could sing?
I kind of always knew I could sing, but I didn't really have the confidence, which is why I started to study producing and going to evening classes. And then at one point I thought I wanted to be a DJ, but I couldn't be a DJ because I just reload all the time. I'm like, oh my god, that was so sick, reload.
You said you had loads of drum and bass records. You used to go out record shopping and stuff.
Yeah, I used to go out record shopping, that typical, have you got that?
You got any jungle guy? Did you have singing lessons, or did you?
Yeah, while I was going to college, I got a grade 8 in vocals, so I had to sight sing and music theory and all this stuff. So I think that's the highest grade. And then I did a higher national diploma at a music tech school in Acton.
See, how funny is that? Excelling at the moment she found her passion, her true calling, no flunking out, no trouble, just pure excelling. I love that.
And when you're around like-minded people,
Positive
kind of like,
people,
oh my god, I didn't
think
think this could happen. Because when you started music back then, it was like, are you still doing that music, Jazz? Oh, you know, you're going to get a real job, or you just... and then you're around people that is their life passion as well. And it's just like, whoa.
That's so cool. So how did you two meet? I'm curious.
Yeah, well, I remember, that's funny you should say that. I was about to say, because I remember when you first
and Tinder doesn't count.
I remember when you sent me some, I think it was some demos or something. It might be on Twitter or, I don't know, on email, or I don't know how, I can't remember exactly how, but, you know, I'd heard a few of your vocals. Or maybe I'd hit you up saying that I really like your vocals, let's do something.
I can't remember that. It might have been me, it might have been you, but I remember
it was something like that anyway, wasn't it?
Someone asked for vocals for you, so it was like a middleman, and I sent them, and then apparently you actually never got the vocals, I realised after.
No, but that was after. Remember before that we'd done Raw Power.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Oh, yeah.
So I think we had hooked up.
Still got
Actually, do you know what? It's all come to me now. I'd heard Level a tune, and he had used your vocals on something. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was it. And I'd heard that, and I thought I was looking for vocalists. So I thought, right, let me, hit a few people up, because I love working with female vocalists and female vocals in the studio. So I hit you up, and I think you said, yeah, let's do something. And then I sent you over that Raw Power tune, and then that's what you did. And we still haven't finished it.
No. Honestly, every time we have a conversation, I'm like, finish
Have you done
Raw
Power?
Yeah. Finish Raw Power.
We just went off on one and made loads of other wicked tracks, didn't we? But it really, do you know what? It really, even Charlie Edges on Radio 1, I sent her stuff that me and Jasmine did, and she came back to me with an email just saying, I really like the stuff that you two do together, you should make an album together. And we talked about it, didn't we? And we might even, with all the stuff we've done now, we've done that many tracks that you could literally put it, we've probably got 3/4 of an album there, haven't we?
Oh then, yeah. Oh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, finish Raw Power.
Oh my god.
One day it will be, for the album, we'll finish it for the album.
So, I mean, what do your parents think now? Are they still?
Obviously, they're so proud of me, because they were like, oh, do something proper. But now they just love it, and they're just like, oh my god, your lyrics. I show my mum, and she's like, oh my god.
And I'm just curious, what's your process in the studio? Is it because I don't know how you guys work, but is it that he sends you an instrumental, you record all the vocals, and you do it, or do you just send a dry vocal in? And how do you guys work?
So how we've worked usually is that you send me.
Yeah, I'll do like an instrumental, and I'll think, and then. Or I've written an instrumental with another vocal, don't I, a lot of the time, just so I can write the track and get a vibe for it. Then I'll send it to Jasmine and say,
don't do that.
Redo the whole vocal, so it becomes original then, But I need a vocal to write my music.
Yeah. I was going to say it's actually a really good idea to take any vocal. I did this thing for Ableton when we were talking about hacks, like tricks to get you out of writer's block. Yeah. And one of the things I love to do on a piano is I'll take a really famous song and sing those lyrics, and then get the music down, and then just get rid of the lyrics.
There you go.
And then it's a piece of music that can be interpreted. All you've got to do is change the chord progressions or something like that.
That's it. Yeah.
How about you? When did you realise that your passion was drum and bass or music in general?
Oh gosh, I think that I've always felt that way. I mean, I started playing piano when I was really, really young, and I was sort of playing piano to quite a high level by the time I was 10, and I'd learned the Suzuki method way, which is that you learn all the. It's almost like you're playing on instinct, and then you learn the theory afterwards. That's the belief, because the thought process is to get the child playing instinctively and using their ears, just really playing by ear. So you get good at mimicking things, hearing things, and then learning that. But then you learn the theory afterwards.
Was it your parents that kind of said to you?
My mother introduced me to piano, definitely. Yeah. But it was. We were moving around a lot, different countries every 6 months, because my stepfather ran hotels and stuff like that. So it was quite lonely. So the piano became sort of my thing in every place. That the only thing that remained consistent throughout. So I could continue with that. And because my stepfather was running massive hotels and places like Raffles and Shangri-La, so I would be performing in front of people eating their dinner at a very young age. It was quite mad. But so I've always been interested in music, but I think when I first realised it was DJ, I mean, I was raving in the scene way before I was a DJ, and just getting into all kinds of trouble, and I left home at 14, so I was just enjoying the raving life and finding those fields filled with cows and anyway.
So DJing wasn't a thing at that time, you were just loving the music.
I mean, this was probably 1984, 85, and then after that, my first record was 1988, and it was on Perfecto, actually. And then.
The first record you made?
The first record that got a deal.
Okay, yeah.
The first record I made was Ambience, Don't Be Afraid to Love. Yeah. And that was I've been doing this a long time, But I think the first time that it hit me was when I went to, I think it was, what was the name of the rave? I can't remember the name of the rave, but I remember the DJs that were playing. They were called Dem 2. And, myself and my mates were all in there, and, we're all raving away. And the DJ Dean, he dropped £10 to get in, you know that and it was the first time I'd ever heard anything like that. And I just took a look at him, and I, you know, one, he was quite hot, and two, like, you know, then I forgot about that because the record and what he was doing to everyone. And I remember, you know, and I wasn't on anything at the time. I was completely like natural high, and I just turned around and I saw what he was doing to the crowd, and I saw what the response that they were giving back, and I think I just realised that this was a huge way to fill that void and get this gigantic hug from people, and also give back something. And I think that's the first time I realised that I might have something valuable to offer, and I would get in return the love that I was really missing. And I think, and I'm not saying that to be sad, but I think most people who are doing this have a need to be not only noticed, but needed, respected, loved, valued. It takes a long time before you come to that on your own. And it's like, you know, when you're 14 and you're doing loads of drugs and you're lost, it's just like, for the first time in my life, I felt like this is what I'm supposed to do. And I remember having this weird feeling in my stomach and this aha moment, and I turned around to my mates and I went, I'm gonna be DJ. And everyone was like, yay, we don't have to pay anyone. Because at that time we were getting into raves and dancing on podiums to get a ticket. Like I danced in a pub called Drovers in Peckham with my mate on a roof in the winter in a bikini to make 30 quid for a night. Whoa. You know, that was the sort of shit we had to model and do stuff that we didn't want to do, like pose for the Sport newspaper, and we were all underage, and do all these horrible things because we were living in squats, but we didn't give a shit. It was the happiest time of our lives, eating ramen noodles and raving. You know, and then
were you making the money so you could then go to the raves and all that kind of stuff?
I wasn't making shit. We were living off cornettos and ramens. I mean, you know, you'd make 90 quid for a photo shoot, or you get paid you wouldn't get paid to go to the raves because it was free. You'd just be a dancer. I remember dancing at the Energy Rave and Anton and all those guys, and you just be with the gloves and, you know, doing the box dance and all of that, and that was it. So it was just to get in. We lived for that stuff, you know. But that was the first time I realised that this could dovetail, my love of raving could actually dovetail into something, and I realised at that moment that was the thing I was meant to do, and I'll never forget it, that moment. It was crazy. And then of course it was like the next day, you know, who's got a turntable? Sally's got a Syntronic deck turntable, someone's got a tape deck. Right, let's mix the tape deck into the turntable. No, that might work. The turntable into the tape deck. Okay, no, throw the tape.
I was exactly the same.
Horrible.
I think I nicked my sister's turntable, and then I said to my auntie, "Can I borrow your turntable?" And then I went to buy this like GM 25 made to fade mixer. And I got that from somewhere, and I didn't realise you needed pitch controls. You know, I was just cutting and doing all of this.
Tell me this: the bit where you're trying to mix vinyl for the. So after that, then time moves on. I met a guy called Jeff B. He was a great little producer, really cool guy, and you know, basically he was like, "I'll teach you how to DJ." This is before pirate radio that I got on, way before, and I remember because I quite a temper. I'm half Italian and I'm quite fiery. I mean, in those days I was a little bit out of control. The amount of times I would get records and just throw them across the room because mixing was so hard. I couldn't understand. Why is this so hard? Why is it so hard? Kids today, they got it so easy. Oh my God. But it was so hard. It was frustrating. It took 6 months before I could mix.
For me, it just one day, then suddenly it clicks, doesn't it? And then suddenly you're like, oh. Yeah, I get it now. I'm still. I still feel it was like, you know, for me it's practice. As long as you practice, it's funny because I hadn't played vinyl for such a long time, and then coming back to England and getting everything ready for streaming, and then I was like, oh, I'm quite rusty at vinyl. It's quite hard to play. I know, you realise.
You know, I had to practice again.
Don't you?
Yeah, because you're so used to the CDJs and just everything flowing like butter, and it's like, this required skill. That's right.
These vinyls that I started on, because obviously I didn't know that you needed slip mats, so I was putting them on there and then just scratching them like that. Then I turned them over and they'd be like, literally, I'd completely ruined the other side of the record. But luckily it was the one side that I didn't want to play. And then I was like, oh right, I need to get some slip mats.
That's hilarious. Wow. So I mean, fast forwarding to all of our careers, like much later on, and we're here all together doing this record, which is just funny because that record, I remember, I made that record.
I wanted to ask you about exactly how did it even come about, and where did you make it? What studio did you make it in? Who engineered it? All that kind of thing.
Do you know what? I can barely remember.
Really?
That's the funny part. I hope no one comes after me.
God, the
for
E's
royalties.
must have been good at that time then.
They were wonderful. I'm trying to think how I made that record. Yeah, I cannot remember.
Really?
How embarrassing is that
crazy,
to say on camera?
isn't it?
I can't remember, and genuinely, it's not. I'm sure there will be records that I put out, and people will come up to me and go, like, I made that with you, and I'll be like, as long as you can prove that, I'm all right with sharing the royalties.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't. Genuinely, I think a lot of the times, remember, I know it was signed to Raw Bass Records. I know I didn't get paid. It could have been with Jeff B. I'm not sure. I really can't. Genuinely, hand on heart, unfortunately, cannot remember the process with that record at all. Yeah, it's funny because.
Do you remember getting the idea though, obviously from Mr. and all that?
Yeah, I know I did that.
Yeah,
but I can't recall the memory where I came up with this record. All I remember was going to a Canberra weekender and having made this record and handing it out to DJs, and I was there the whole Canberra weekend, and that's all I remember. But I think. It was funny because there was a guy on YouTube who breaks down your records and shows you how you made them. Oh. And I was like, "Rah, did I do that? That's good." And I think it's. I can't remember. I can't remember how it's put together. I can't remember how it was engineered. It could be Pete Parsons. You know what?
Can't you just make something up for the interview? I spent hours.
I can tell you this much, right? I can tell you that normally my process was get buzzed and the day after hit a studio. But I think that record was made in my bedroom.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. Well, because at that time I had, and in fact I've got.
Did you have like Akai samplers and stuff like that? Did you? What did you?
I had an Akai sampler, an M1 keyboard.
Oh, brilliant!
I had an Ensoniq keyboard as well, which could sample for like 4 bars, and. If we did that at Jeff's studio or my studio, it was a bedroom. It would be our bedrooms. And then what I tended to do, I'm not sure if I did this with this record, but what I would tend to do is then go hire a studio to do the mix downs. And that was Monroe Studios.
And that's how the process was back then, though, wasn't it? Because you could never get the sound that you from your bedroom anyway, the good mix down, unless you had, because the gear was so expensive, wasn't it then?
Yeah. So then we go to Monroe Studios, and Pete Parsons would be engineering or whatever, and maybe he was involved in that process. I can't remember. Not for that. It's too long ago. I mean, when was it made? I mean, 90.
Yeah. Well, it was.
What?
Yeah, I think 91. It must have been. And then obviously it was being, because when I heard it, I heard DJs like Rat Pack and Slipmat and all those guys playing it, and and for me, it's like it's got like a that whole era for me is like all that music really made me feel like, oh my god, what is this music? This is incredible. That's why I fell in love with rave music, basically.
I think that everyone has had that same experience where you just walked in and to a field or a rave and you just felt like you were home.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like, this is the dysfunctional family that I belong to. This is where I'm meant to be. I just felt, I've never felt more comfortable than when I walk into a field full of strangers who just want to hug you, and whatever the reasons, whether we were all high, straight, whatever, there was that community, and I think that's still what people hunger for and want in this scene. Like tonight, Moondance and what we're doing, it's so much more about. And I was saying to Funky yesterday, I was
unity and coming together.
I was saying to him, I said, like, what Moondance has always been able to do is keep the friendship and the community going. All the DJs in Moondance were all friends. We all WhatsApp each other. We all speak to each other. It's never been this cool DJ clique that no one speaks to. It's not like that. It's still about. I keep thinking of the line in Jaws where it's like Amity means friendship. It's like Moondance means friendship, and it does. It's always been about that old school community, that vibe, and I love that it hasn't lost that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even worked with Moondance that long, but instantly, after meeting Funky and working with them, I felt like I'm home. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is where I want to be with these guys. This is where I want to, you know, it's kind of like they're really appreciating the music that I'm making.
And they're nice to each other.
Absolutely, everyone's so nice.
You never have to call anyone and them go, well, I don't really want to do, you know, if you call Slipmat, he's just like, how can I help?
Yeah.
Your service. And it's like, you know, Sense is the same, Tricks, all of them, they're all like that. And it's
really
like,
good people.
They're really good people. And Funky's just, you know, he gets bored so easily, so he's constantly coming up with fun things to do. You know, and we'll have 2-hour-long conversations. By the end, we both feel like we've had a shot of something, because we're both like, we could do this, and we could do this, and we could do this, and it never goes anywhere. It's always just, we just enjoy the conversations. So
when me and Funky hooked up, it was just like, I kept thinking, God, I've actually met someone that's kind of on it, like me, and getting stuff done. And he was thinking exactly the same. He was like, oh, I've actually met someone that's on the case and doing stuff on time and getting stuff done. And, you know, we were like...
It's nice when you can work with like-minded people, like what you were saying. It's like, you know, one of the things about that, I obviously love what you do musically, but... and, you know, I know I mean this in the nicest way, because your wife's lovely and all of that, but I sort of fell in love with his work ethic. He's so on it, on time. He's such a positive person, you know, and it's just so refreshing to work with someone who's fun, positive, because I can be a bit... Sometimes I forget to be that positive person, because I'm so, and will work, so I'm like, you know, everything is so organised in the end, because I'm doing so much. I'm overwhelmed, you know, I'm overwhelmed with how much I have to do, so I have to be very organised. And sometimes, you know, I remember you saying to me, we were doing something, and you said, don't forget to have fun with this. Let's remember to enjoy this moment, because, you know, you could get so caught up in the business part of it, and it's lovely to work with someone that sort of shoulders the weight of the release with you, and does that, and everyone comes together and you can have a nice time and enjoy each other's company.
No, it was great. I mean, no, thanks to you guys as well, because I said to even Olivia, I said, every time I speak with DJ Rap, it feels like I'm speaking to my sister. You know, like, you know, it's like speaking to my sister's very similar to you in the way, you know, that I love the way you've got all these cool ideas, and well, we could do that, or we could do that, or we could try this one. And she's exactly the same, and it's like, you know.
And you don't get that when you're doing a solo project.
No.
When you're working on your own, it's quite hard and isolating, because you've got no one to turn around to and say, well, what do you think of this track? When you know, when you don't really have that studio experience where you're bouncing off each other, do you know what I mean? And then also it's great to have that experience when you're doing the business part of it, like what's our strategy for this release, how should we do it? And I think, if I'm honest, I enjoy that part just as much as the music. I enjoy the business end of it. I mean, I know you're more in the studio, and you...
But that's why we've made a great team doing this, I think. And it's great, you know, the fact that you do the videos and you've been doing all of that stuff, and I just think it's fantastic, you know, so... less work for Richie.
Now he's like, do us a banner for YouTube. Like, do us a banner for this. I just tell you, I was doing that YouTube banner the other day. It took an hour and a half.
Did it?
Bloody dimensions!
I know. I thought that you might have done
I was like...
Because I know our guy, I think Harry did mine, and he had a nightmare with those.
Because everything else you can Google, it will give you the proper dimensions. This is like what it's
was
like.
Was it trial and error with their YouTube? Did you put it up and it was like, no, put it up?
100 times.
Yeah.
And you know, I was like, I can't, you know, I've got to give it to him right. But this is the thing that people don't see about making music, right? It's like, I call it the iceberg effect, right? You've got that 1/10 that everyone sees. Oh, your record's a beatport, it's charting really high. Oh, you're DJing at this place. Oh, life must be good. Actually, I'm making YouTube banners. And it's actually really, really boring most days, because I was sitting in front of a desk actually being more corporate than if I wasn't. And I'm just hoping that I can get in the studio and have some time to play around. But it's actually been really enjoyable. And, you know, doing these events will be fun, and, you know, having these experiences and doing these things together, I think really make it worthwhile, because let's face it, it's not about making money. It's about having these experiences, because that's what I want to remember. I want to remember this stuff. And say, do you remember when we all did this, and we had this time, and we were all DJing with everybody else and doing that stuff? Otherwise, what's the point? You can't take it with you.
No, exactly. And that's why, you know, with the whole Divine Rhythm, it's, you know, it's such a big part of my heart, you know, growing up, and that's why it meant so much to me. So then when I said to you, oh, can I do it? And you said, yeah, give it a go. I was just like, oh my God. Do you know what I mean? For me, it was like, oh, great, you know, because that really captured something for me around that, you know. So this whole kind of coming back and after we did the Baby D and coming back and doing all of this stuff, I'm having the time of my life. I'm just making all the tracks that I went raving to and like absolutely, do you know what I mean? It's brilliant.
I know, whenever we speak, you're always so fussy. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this.
And now I'm getting loads of people come to me.
Do you ever get sad?
No,
I can't imagine you ever being grumpy or short or snap. Because sometimes I know I've called him up and I'm like, can you? And I think you could hear that I'm stressed about certain things. And he's always like, no problem. I'll put a fade in front of that video. No, could you just?
The only time I get sad is when Olivia takes my food out of the fridge.
Such a guy, honestly, such a guy.
Yeah. And I'm like, where's my pasty? Where's my radishes?
Bless him. Man, I love how easy it is to keep you happy. That is wonderful. That's awesome, man. So, I mean, I'm really loving getting to know your story. Thanks for sharing with us, and thanks so much for lending your beautiful voice. It's like so gorgeous. When I heard it, the first thing I did was I emailed him. I was like, yeah, that's the take right there. That's amazing, yes. Wonderful. Yeah. So thank you for doing
Thanks
that.
For having me.
That's hard to pull off. And should we all go and just kill this stream?
Yeah,
let's
I can't wait. Let's do it.
All righty then.
Do this.